Hello everyone and welcome back to CLX Foundry Live, where we go inside people's builds, we assemble them from the ground up. I'm your host, DJ BluePDX, and of course joining us in the studio, it is Paul Steffens, our lead technical expert, and Hayden Hutchinson, our master builder. Guys, what's up? I feel like I've just seen you in person. We're back from DreamHack. How much fun is that?
Yeah, that was an awesome time down there.
We finally got to have all four of us in the same space. That was wild. That was super cool. I got to watch you guys do it, like build out PCs, upgrade PCs live. There was so much that happened, and we've got so much amazing content that we'll be showing you over the next couple weeks, and we'll talk about what we're going to show you in a little bit. Today we will be announcing the May winner, so you don't want to miss it. Today's build, however, is going to be for Joe in Texas. So let's go ahead and start there. What are we going to be putting in Joe's PC?
Alrighty, so Joe has custom configured a Scarab off our website. So starting out, we've got a Ryzen 7 7800X 3D for our processor. We've got a Lian Li 360 cooler to cool that. Then for our motherboard, we've got an ASUS Tough Gaming B650M plus Wi-Fi. 2 sticks of GSkill 16 gig DDR5 6000 speed memory, a Samsung 1TB 980 Pro for our M.2 drive. We've got an RTX 4080 going in this. This card is actually really big. I don't know if we've done this model of card on the show before, so that'll be really cool. This is going in our O11 Mini in black. We've built a couple of them on the show last week. I think we might have actually done 2 in a row. So cool with this. We'll have to do some modding to that, which we'll talk about in a little bit. 7 case fans and a 1000-watt Silverstone SFX power supply.
Nice. Awesome. We are, by the way, just looking at an overhead cam that we are adjusting. So this sounds like it's going to be a fun build. Obviously, we've done some of these things before. One of the biggest pulls is, of course, that AMD Ryzen. We'll talk about that in a quick second. So, and of course, a big shout out to everybody in chat. I know we got everybody in here rooting for, hopefully that they win. Also, so many people that we got to see in person, got to meet for the first time, and it was zombies in here. It was just absolutely, Nicole's in here, although I already know Nicole. There you go. Hi, Shasta was there. Shasta was there and was at most of my DJ sets. It was really cool. So welcome, glad to have you here. It was lots of fun. Now we've got that fixed. Let's get started.
Nice. Alrighty, so I'll give Hayden the motherboard and we'll get going on that. I'll grab the case also while we're doing this. Now, what I was talking about with this case is this whole back side, I believe. Are we going to have to adjust this or anything for the 360 rad? Yeah. So this whole part, we've talked about a little bit on the show before, but where this IO shield sits, we can move this down. We haven't had to do it on the show before because last time we were using a 240 rad, but this time we're doing a 360, which is going to go in the top. So we're going to have to slide this part down.
Cool.
Yeah, for everything
all right.
top, then we'll have to slide it.
Mm-hmm.
So do we want to do that? Is that something we need to do first? And how does one go about doing that?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and start doing this. Let me get the side panels off, and then I will show you guys, because it's pretty cool.
While they're doing that, don't forget, if you would like to join our amazing community, head on over to discord.gg/CLX Gaming, where everybody sits and, well, we talk shop, talk PCs, talk gaming, talk to each other. Mm-hmm. It's also a great way to know when we're doing stuff, when streams are going live, and in case you have questions about something you saw on the show. Now, if you do have questions today about things that we talk about or things that you hear or references that you may not understand, please feel free to ask in the chat. We would love to answer all your questions. All right. So first up, as this motherboard goes, we're going to be using an ASUS Tough Gaming B650M plus Wi-Fi M.2 board. Obviously, you can see it's got some really large heat sinks there. I like the black and yellow designs on it. I always like that. It looks cool.
I think so too. I like the aesthetic of the Tough.
Yeah, I really like the heat sink itself.
All right, I'll go ahead and give Hayden the processor. He can get that mounted while I'm pulling off a couple things on this case.
Okay. I'm excited to see how you're going to adjust that. While we're doing that, let's talk about this motherboard. This is actually a fun one. It's got PCIe 5.0 for M.2 storage. It also features a USB 3.2 Gen 2x2 Type C, which means you've got 10 gigs up, 10 gigs down for a total of 20 gigs. Comes with Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2, and is LED ready. It has its own LED. So, as far as the processor goes, we're going to be putting in an AMD Ryzen 7 7800X 3D. Paul, what can you tell me about this processor?
Yeah, so this is the new 7th gen of Ryzen. Obviously, you mentioned 7800X 3D. So this is an 8-core, 16-thread processor. It's got a base speed of 4.2 and a boost of up to 5.0. So that is blazing fast. And something special about this, it being the 3D version, that means that the cache, the physical cache on there, is stored on top of the CPU die. So very cool, innovative technology there.
And okay, so I have a question about that. What's that cache used for?
Yeah, so that cache is basically the first memory the CPU is going to look at when preparing for some tasks. So it being stacked on top allows for more of it to be on there. So that's why it's pretty cool. And we'll see what happens. Like, it's pretty nice, like groundbreaking technology, just to like see where it will become in a few years.
Awesome. It just sits right in there, and we'll lock that in. Sounds like a plan.
Just match up your triangles. The triangle on this one's in the top left.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. And it is something noticeable. I'll be honest, because we've talked about that before. But why you need a dot, basically, for the AMDs and a line for the Intels. They do look a little more square instead of a little more oblong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Alrighty, so let's move that motherboard. Just put that up there for a second, Hayden. So we are going to show how we're going to do this case. So I've got the side panels off. Now you can see all these thumb screws here. We're going to drop this whole section down a notch. So Hayden, I'll let you get in there with that, since you know where you're going to be mounting it.
And of course, this is a Scarab 011 Dynamic Mini Micro Tower from Lian Li.
Yep, so this is something we haven't done on the show before. So you can see Hayden doing those thumb screws there, that little tab that kind of fell out. Those, you'll see those in 2 section chunks. You'll see a couple of them down there, and you can move those all around to cover up what you need. So
let's see here. Lots of people, the new people in the chat. Hello, welcome. Good to have you all here.
Welcome. Man, I didn't get to meet Necro when we were down there, and I wish I would have.
Yeah, I wish Necro could have come. That would have been great.
Zombie.
Zombie.
There's Zombie.
They got 2 zombie
Zombies was there.
names. My bad. Sorry, I mixed you guys up. Zombie and Necro staying on theme. I didn't get to meet Zombie.
What's up, always? Hello, welcome. Wow. All right. So you need a new desktop so you can get game testing? Yeah. Having a good solid machine for that is always helpful. Look at this.
Yes, you can see this is kind of coming apart now.
So, will there be a gap up at the top?
So there will be, once we get this set, you'll see a gap, but then we'll fill that in with the parts that we're moving from the bottom. So we can just slap those up top.
Well, in the box, there's a bar that will be placed up there.
Gotcha, yeah. So this...
No kidding.
Yep.
So if we wanted to go down more, we could. We only need to go down 1 slot, so that that
bar
will be covering it. Yep.
Cool. This is the one case that it comes with a lot of accessories that we have used. This does have the motherboard extension tray on there for the wider boards, which we'll probably be using for this. So
we should be using that.
I'll get that out.
To answer you guys' questions, the winner will be announced here a little bit later in the show. As far as Diablo, I think I'm a level 10 or 11, maybe.
Oh, getting in on some Diablo.
Yeah, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna doing that today, going very slow.
What class are you playing?
I am starting with the Necromancer.
Nice, that's the best.
So I just like having a little army of, skeletons or things running around.
Yep, just an obscene amount of homies.
Yeah. Yeah, so we will be announcing it here in a little bit, but yeah, stick around. There we go.
Sorry, Necro.
And Captain Kate says, first stream catching us live. Finally, something I can talk to my dad about that he knows stuff on. That's awesome. Well, and if you have questions, again, if you have questions, please let us know. I'll be keeping my eye on the chat as much as possible, so we can get all those answered. I will say I do also want to be what's the other one? The other magic one.
Sorceress? Druid? Yeah. Druid look cool. Just turn into a bear and maul some stuff.
I haven't played it yet.
Haven't played it at all?
This is my first time ever playing a Diablo game, so.
Oh, nice. 3 was the one I played. I played a ton of 3, and then I bought D2, the remaster, not that long ago. It didn't really grab me. It was cool, but didn't get hooked on it.
What is the full form of CLX? I'm not sure what that's referring to.
This is our final form.
Our final form. Is there any particular reason for using this case? Like, isn't there any others that could have been used without making adjustments? The adjustment is cool, but just curious. So this is for a customer, and they built this system on our configurator so that they could, and it's custom to what they ordered. So, what does CLX stand for? That is a good question, and I believe that I don't know that exact.
It is a secret
answer.
Ivory can post if he wants.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Dandy, again, we'll let staff answer that question. For Cybertron luxury experience. Oh, Vex got it. Or got? I mean, I don't know if that's correct, but that certainly sounds.
No, that is.
Sounds fun.
That is correct.
Nicole's like, no. I was looking at it like, I mean, that might make sense, but yeah, no, it is not. It's just CLX. I don't know. That is a staff question.
All right, so Hayden's got the motherboard tray going in, and actually, if we can go back to the other shot, Jason, I'll show you this. This one right. Yeah, perfect. So now you can see, just slid this down, put this bar up top, and now we're gonna have plenty of room for our 360 rad up top. So pretty cool case design here.
Oh, gotcha. I like this. We can go with that one. Crazy laser xylophone. Here we go. That's awesome.
I like that.
because we moved it down, we are going to have to change where the standoffs are.
Yes, yeah. So Hayden is installing that extender there because we have an MATX board here, but unlike ATX, the MATX, there's some variance on where the standoffs goes and how wide they are. So not only are we going to have to add the extender in, we're also going to have to shift all those standoffs that came in this down.
Okay, gotcha.
This might be the most amount of standoffs we've messed with in a build on the show before. So
yeah,
kind of cool to see that. There's a special standoff driver. It's a 5mm hex head, if you're curious. So we just buy these standoff drivers that are just, like I said, 5mm hex head here.
Now, is that like the ones that have the pin in the middle?
These do not. No, there's no pin in the middle.
Okay.
So yep, just any standard like 5mm wrench would work on these. So just any 5mm
Got it.
head there will work.
Because I've had those Star Drive, screws that have the pin that pin in the middle. So you've got to have one that's got an empty spot so you can just
it's been like specially made for it. Yeah.
They're S-Torques. That's what they're called. Zombie got that one right. Correct.
There we go.
So Dundee Blur says, by the way, Paul, you played D3. Did you like the Witch Doctor? And what other classes did you play?
Oh yeah, I love the Witch Doctor. The Witch Doctor was my main. I probably played the others, but never put a lot of time into them. The Witch Doctor was awesome. Throwing all the ads you could summon and everything. I don't know how meta the Witch Doctor was, but I loved it.
That's why.
And that's why I played Necromancer, because D3 was my first one that I really played. So Witch Doctor was a class, and that was basically what I was told was the Necromancer of D3. So that's why I play Necromancer now.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
D3 was crazy on launch because you could sell your in-game weapons for real money. I don't know if anybody remembers that. There was like a marketplace. Like if you got a crazy rare item, like people were making money on it. They shut it down after a while. I don't know how long it stayed up, but it was up for a while.
Nice. I'm really jazzed that we can change the case like this. Now, I take it that not all Lian Li cases do this. This is just special for this one.
Yeah, this is just special for this one. This is the only case that I've seen that are just like this. There are some cases out there that give you like a couple different options of where to mount your motherboard, but this is the first one I've seen that you like physically change the back panel to change where your motherboard sits.
Gotcha. That's honestly really cool.
It is. It is
a
cool.
neat feature.
It's a good feature. Now, the only thing you have to be mindful of when you're doing this is obviously we're taking space from the bottom, we're stealing that and adding it to the top. So if we had a bunch of extra, PCI cards going down here, that's, we wouldn't be able to do this. But we just have a video card in this. It is a big video card, but there's plenty of room down here for it.
Gotcha. Nice.
Alrighty, should we get into the AIO next? All right.
So for the AIO, this is one that we don't often see on the show, but it's because I don't think we've honestly used one on the show before. This is a Lian Li Galahad 360 closed loop AIO. A little bit different. What are some of the differences with this from some of the others, or some of the features?
Yeah, so some of the differences, the radiator is a little bit bigger on this than most AIOs. So we were messing around with this. Me and Zach were messing around with one in a P400 this morning. And it fit, but it was a pretty tight fit. And then obviously the pump cold plate combo is different. It comes with this magnetic cover plate. We'll show you once we get it unboxed. But other than that, it's pretty standard AIO, honestly.
Let's see here. And hi, what's up, Shiva? How are you? Talking about 128 gigs on a board. Yes, you can. I believe you can max this thing out at 128. That's kind of the standard. Periodically, you can get larger max memory, like at a 196, but that's not. We don't see that often.
Yeah, it's very rare to have that much memory. 64 gigs is like kind of a jaw-dropping amount when we see that come in. So, love that. It's pretty nuts.
Beast and Shadow, welcome. How's it going?
Need for Speed Underground 2,
Yes, sir.
that
Running
was
good
my
server
game.
boards. I was Need for Speed Hot Pursuit on the PS1.
Oh, yeah?
That was my very first Need for Speed that I
one.
played.
Yeah, Underground 2 was my jam. Oh my gosh, best soundtrack. I love that.
Yeah.
They had like the SUV races. You could be like racing Escalades and stuff. That was wild. That's part of the reason why I had a 2-gen Eclipse, was that game.
There we go.
All right.
Now,
Yeah. So
let's see here.
I'm peeling this plastic off here. This is something that all AIOs come with, but you definitely want to check, because if you don't take that off, you will have thermal paste on top of plastic, and that's not good.
And unlike some of our other AIOs, this one didn't come with any of the thermal paste already applied.
Right, yeah, this one did not. So some AIOs come with it applied, some don't. I'm sure this one has a tube of thermal paste somewhere in that bag of hardware that Hayden has. We're just going to throw on our Arctic Silver 5, though.
Got it. And for those who aren't sure or understanding exactly what an AIO is, can you explain the 3 different ways you can cool a PC?
Yeah, so the 3 main ways you can cool your processor are going to be with air cooling, liquid cooling, which is broken down in closed loop and open loop. So this is an AIO liquid cooler. This is also referred to as a closed loop cooling solution. So you guys saw us take it out of the box. We don't have to add any fluid to it. We just install the mounting hardware, and then that's it. This thing is good to go. So that's what closed loop means. We don't have to open it up and add any fluid. An open loop, which we've now done, I think, 2 on this show, looking to do some more, is where you get custom tubes, either soft or hard. If they're hard tubes, we bend those here, and you actually install radiators, pumps, all that stuff, and you fill up the fluid yourself at the end. So a lot more work goes into those. They look really nice, though.
So I noticed, Hayden, you're looking at the pump itself right now. Is it like a different mounting?
Yeah, so I've never done an AM5 with this configuration. So I'm just reading up on the manual to make sure I'm putting it in right.
Nice.
And by AM5, are you referring to the chip mount?
Yeah, so this
Chipset.
AMD chipset is AM5, yeah.
Got it, okay.
I don't see an AM5.
Interesting. I do like the circular, almost Iron Man, Tony Stark style pump on it.
Yeah, this thing is pretty sick.
Looks like a giant button. Now, does that light up?
Yeah, so inside here it lights up, and then this is just a magnetic thing you can throw on top. So if you ever want to pull that off, you can.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, we saw some really amazing AIOs at DreamHack, especially in the BYOC area, which is the bring your own computer. There's a giant competition floor for a LAN, and there were some really different. We wandered around and saw a lot of different ways of people cooling their CPUs, and some were giant blocks of steel with fans. Others were open loop. We saw some AIOs with an actual digital screen, that was playing videos.
Yeah, it's the amount of options out there for cooling is really cool. Then that guy had that Matrix PC that had like the mic coming out of it and everything. That was really cool.
Literally one of the coolest PCs I've ever seen. And of course, the front panel actually had the Matrix code on it.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Did he tell you? I thought he told somebody how he did it. Maybe it was Zach.
He told me it was wallpaper engine.
Okay.
And then he had like a little monitor just taped up in there.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think he said he just taped it in there,
Yeah,
like or some adhesive. Yeah.
Wow. That's. Well, it looked incredible.
Yeah, one of those you probably don't want to see how the sausage is made, but it looked cool.
Yeah, Lil Fonzo asks if someone isn't in the live channel and they win, what happens? So Surf's going to send out an email to the winner letting them know, hey, you've won. You'll have 24 hours to reply and to claim your prize. If not, then we'll have to redraw. So, yep. There we go. Getting this all put in there. It's fun knowing that sometimes Hayden doesn't have all the answers. It's nice to know that he's. And so, of course, these instructions. So, do the instructions for how to mount this come from the AIO, or do they come with the motherboard?
They come with the AIO.
Got it. Okay. Chalish asks, does CLX have experimental user builds like non-commercial insane builds?
Slides off.
Sorry, non-commercial insane build experiment. So
like just experimental user builds.
Yeah. So we do a bunch of like R&D builds, stuff like that. When we get the latest and greatest hardware, we will like be like, okay, we have this brand new processor. What is like, how far can we push it? So we do a lot of that. Hayden's actually just recently been getting involved in some of that. So yeah, we definitely do that type of stuff.
There we go. And if you haven't taken a chance to build your own PC, it's easy to get lost choosing all sorts of different parts and all sorts of configurations on our site. We'll go over that site here in just a little bit. Which video card? This video card is going to be an RTX 4080. So, Nvidia GeForce 4080 right now. That little dot is all you need for the thermal paste, because it's going to spread quite a bit. guys, what happens if you end up putting on too much thermal paste?
So worst case scenario, you put on too much thermal paste, it's just gonna ooze out all over your stuff and be kind of messy. Now, if you put like the whole tube on there and it starts getting onto your motherboard PCB, that might cause some, some actual issues other than a little bit more than just messy. But most of the time, it's just gonna be a mess to clean up.
Yeah, and if you don't put enough.
If you don't put enough, then you'll notice it, in your performance. You'll see that it's, probably overheating. You might start stuttering in games and stuff like that because your GPU or CPU is trying to slow itself down. So you'll definitely notice it more if you don't put enough on there. That's not authorization to just go nuts and ooze it all over your CPU, though.
Yep. Please don't use the entire tube. Also, Crucian Gaming is in the chat. What's up, dude? It was so good seeing you last weekend, man. So good seeing you. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Crucian was over with the HCS event, the Halo HCS event, which resulted in FaZe walking away with a win. They have been consistently within like the top 4 for a while, but watching them finally come out and walk away with a win was actually really cool.
Nice.
So, wow, those are really big screws.
Yeah, those are the thumb screws.
So does it slide onto place, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of slides in and out. It's kind of a pain to get in there and off, but it does.
Just one little cow. Hello, welcome. Glad to have everybody here. Okay, so this is interesting. There's with each AIO, they mount things in a different way for different stuff, which is.
Yeah, that's the biggest difference with AIOs is the mounting hardware that comes in. It would be nice if there was some sort of standard going on.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Like this one is using these clips that come on that are typically for an air cooler. So this is mounting hardware that's going to latch on at those clips.
Zombie asks, Paul, did you let Zach have his Buc-ee's? I didn't get to ask you.
Yes, we did. We did make a pit stop at Buc-ee's. We probably were there for like half an hour. So yeah, got some beef jerky, got some beaver nuggets, some candied cashews. Yeah, 3 bags of beaver nuggets.
I spent $40.
Oh my goodness.
Wait, what exactly is a Buc-ee's?
You don't know? Oh man, Buc-ee's is the best gas station you've ever heard of. It's like a Texas thing. So you definitely, if you ever get to go to Buc-ee's, it's like a Walmart gas station, but I don't like saying Walmart because it's way better than that.
Yeah.
Really clean, good bathrooms. They have brisket. They bring out like fresh biscuit, and they're just like fresh brisket, and then they pull it all apart and make sandwiches out of it. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, Buc-ee's
is actual good food.
It lives up to the hype.
It sounds like the best gas station ever.
Yeah.
We do have a question about what are beaver nuggets?
Beaver nuggets are like this candied snack. If you've ever had like French Toast Crunch, that like alternative cinnamon toast crunch that they did, it tastes like that.
It tastes like Cap'n Crunch.
It's like maple syrupy.
Okay, so they're not actually made out of beaver.
No.
Yeah,
it's like a
I was gonna say
it's very good.
And Hey asks, is 80 degrees Celsius overheating?
Depending on your hardware, if you got like current hardware, honestly, it's not really. We see 80 degrees. If that's while you're gaming, then that's most likely okay. That is definitely getting up there, but everything just runs hotter now. So if that's why you're idling, then I would say you're probably overheating. But in a gaming environment, I think that's probably fine.
Buc-ee's mascot is a beaver.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, that makes sense. Official Purple Guy, we have not announced it yet. We will be getting to that here in just a little bit, so stick around.
And they've always got an employee on staff that will like walk around in the Buc-ee's costume. So you'll get like a beaver the size of me walking through the gas station, which is cool.
Gas pumps.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like 100 gas pumps.
100 gas pumps, yeah. It's cool. If you see a Buc-ee's, you should stop.
Should always stop.
Yeah, now I really want to go for one. I want to look it up online.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, so we're getting our fans ready for our AIO. Now these, we've got 7 Gamdias Aeolus M.2 ARGB fans we're going to be putting on this. And when it comes to airflow, who wants to tell us about the airflow and what's recommended, while also talking about what your options are?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead with this one. So when mounting your fans to your AIO, we obviously could mount them on either side. So the way we want to mount them is in a way that air is going to be pushed through the radiator fins. That just gives you a little bit better cooling than if they were on the other side pulling air through. So when you hear us talk about push-pull, that's what we're referring to. We have our fans mounted in a way where they're pushing air through. If you have the room in your case and you have the extra fans and you want to go nuts with it, you can put fans on both sides of the radiator, and that would be a push-pull.
Gotcha. There we go. Awesome. And Best in Shadow asks, what does AIO stand for? It stands for all-in-one. So it's a fully enclosed liquid cooler.
Mm-hmm.
We saw some wild air coolers over there at DreamHack.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Some huge blocks that, yeah, fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, there's some good air coolers out there that can, pretty much for me, a good air cooler is one that can cool just as much or more than a 120 mil AIO. I haven't seen many air coolers that can compete with a 240, and definitely none that I've seen that can compete with a 360. But if you don't want to go the liquid cooling route, there are definitely good options for air cooling out there.
Yeah. It's the Gator? Lagathor. I'm going to just go ahead and go with this. He asks, is it better to have PJs or pull? I'm assuming that's push or pull. If you can only fit one.
If you can only do one, you want to be pushing. Now, it's not something to stress about. Is you've got to be pulling air through. Your system's going to function fine. It's just going to run a few degrees warmer, but that's okay.
Let's see here. Fun fact, I'm watching on my Switch and right now I'm texting on your phone. And that's what we call creative problem solving.
Yeah, multitasking.
There we go. Yeah. Absolutely. We love answering questions. We love answering questions. Is it okay if the glass panel is off the case a bit?
I mean, yeah, that's okay. But these cases are engineered in a way where the best airflow you're going to get is with everything installed correctly. So, I mean, it's okay, but definitely not recommended.
Yeah, I have sadly, I have a really poor cooling on my current gaming machine, and so I've had to do that. And it does not feel like a safe thing to do. But yeah. These Lian Li cases are great. Also, the filtration on these are great because of the magnetic filters. Speaking of that, let's take a look at some of those magnetic filters, and so people understand what they're doing and how they work.
So I'll just use the one on the back panel for an example, but these are on all the panels across this case where air is going to be coming through. So
you got an M.2 screw?
I do not. So this is our back side panel here. We've got, just like you said, our magnetic filters. So these just pull off like this. You can see they've got kind of some ridges on here for them to rest on. And then they just go on. Very easy to take off, clean, and put back on. So really great design here. There's a tray in the bottom of the case that also has one. I don't believe that one's magnetic because it just sits in a tray. But there's magnetic filters in the top, on the back, and on the bottom. So plenty of filtration there and very easy to clean.
Why You Mad wants to know how tall you are, Paul.
I'm 6'3".
You make me look tiny.
Yeah, I should have said I'm 5'6".
You should say that.
Hayden's 2'4".
Yeah.
Yeah.
And welcome from India, Shiba. Rich Pulper Guy says, I used to have a PC and found out I had my stuff plugged in a hard drive and that's why my PC worked horrible, but I ended up losing it because I moved and it sucked. Got it.
Dang.
Well, there we go. I do know that we had one of the computers that we upgraded. So we did a really cool thing while we were there in Dallas. We chose 5 people and we upgraded their systems, and there were some pretty much older systems. One had his GPU plugged into, you said it was a PCI versus PCIe?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we had a guy.
Can you describe the different forms of PCI that can come on a motherboard and what the big difference is?
Yeah, so If we go back to our overhead shot here, Jason, so these are obviously our PCIe slots before. We talked about that a lot. Those are the only slots we have on this board as far as like card slots. This is PCIe by 1, and this is PCIe by 16, so just a little bit different length. But what he had on his was a PCI. Now that was obviously before PCIe, so like it's a totally different keyed slot. Like you can't put a PCIe card into a PCI slot. So that was just really showing the age of the system. Nowadays you're gonna have PCIe on everything. So that was pretty wild that he had that. And in one of those PCI slots, he had an eSATA card, which I hadn't heard of eSATA in like 5 years, maybe more. It used to be for like transferring. Kind of same concept as USB for like external hard drives and stuff. Definitely didn't last. So yeah, there was some old stuff in there.
Bishop says, am I able to get those shirts anywhere? They're sick. Yes, actually, you can get them on our webpage included with your purchase of a PC. They're available right down at the very end under the accessories/peripheral section, and we'll go over and talk about that when we get to our website portion of the we'll do a little quick run through in just a little while. So next up, I believe we're going to be jumping into our
Hayden, yeah, let's do our RAM, and then we can go over our M.2 because Hayden just blazed through that too fast.
He already did it. All right. So by the way, that operating system M.2 is a 1 terabyte Samsung 980 Pro PCIe 4.0 NVMe SSD. As for the RAM, we've got two 16 gig sticks of GSkill DDR5 6000 for a total of 32 gigs of RAM. Now DDR5 6000, I believe, is one of the highest you can get.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the highest you can get now. I'm sure there'll be some higher speeds coming out later, and there might be some higher speeds, you know, on the market right now, but it'd be pretty rare. 6,000 is crazy fast.
Ultimate Loser, what's up? How you doing? Says, I have an eSATA card in my PC to connect to a four-port toaster for my backup drive.
There you go. Yeah, that's good. That sounds about right.
Oh my goodness.
I had to ask the guy, I was like, what is this? Like, what is this card? I recognize this because eSATA used to be part of your front panel. So like where your power button and USB ports was, there used to be an eSATA port there. And I just hadn't seen it for so long, so.
Yeah. By the way, you can pull up our show on YouTube and listen to it. We put all of our episodes over there. And to answer what Steve sees question, yes, we upgraded thanks to the generosity of a bunch of our partners, ASUS and MSI, Kingston, Fantex, and Intel. We upgraded all of them to current present motherboards with an i9 13900KF and with 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM and a 360 AIO cooler, thanks to the wonderful people at Fantex. So, and we found some pretty old processors, and yeah. Well, the very last guy was the best find because it was Ivory and then Hayden and I, and we're walking forward, and we all happen to look to the left, and this guy's trying to run the new Starship Troopers game.
With Diablo 4 in the back.
It was on the lowest, yeah, with Diablo 4 in the background, lowest settings on it, and it was maybe getting 15 to 20 frames per second.
It was
and
bad.
so we stopped and looked, and Ivory was like, yeah, this is the one.
Yeah, like one of the guys was, I think it was a guy with the eSATA card. He had 4th gen Intel and went all the way up to 13th gen Intel. So that was
yeah.
One of the guys' birthday.
Yeah, it was one of the guys' birthday.
Yeah.
It was, which we didn't know, but
yeah, it was a really cool experience.
Which you failed to mention.
Let's see here. I haven't done many PC builds, but I've been in IT for a long time, and it seems interesting. Cards, drives, and peripherals over the years. Yes, the development and evolution of those have been wild. All right, gentlemen, what's next? We're going to put this in.
I'm going to drop the board.
Okay.
Scoot that over.
yeah.
Now, there's lots of cables, obviously, coming off of this. Is it important to make sure that none of those are under the board when you line it up with the IO shield?
So you can see that I'm pulling up the cables. Because the last thing you want is a cable trapped underneath your board.
Yeah. And this still applies with as a 2/3 case, which I really like. So What do we mean by 2/3, Paul?
Yeah, so what that means is our motherboard is sitting 2/3 of the way down, as opposed to all the way down on the back of our case. So that leaves us some room in the back for a power supply and any 2.5-inch or 3.5-inch extra hard drives in this area. And why that's beneficial is none of the heat that's generated from those components will be in the main body of their case. They'll get their own fresh air in from the back and exhaust them out these holes where you see me pointing to now.
Yep. And that's what I got for my PC. It's right there behind Hayden.
Yeah.
To answer your question, let's see here. Mike Sensei, how are you doing? For the giveaway build will be built on the show. I believe we're doing that. Do we have it? Confirmed a date for
we're
that
not
yet?
sure. We're going to try to do it this Thursday though, but that's not
there you
confirmed yet.
Yeah. Still working through some things. What motherboard are you guys using today? We're using an ASUS Tough Gaming B650M plus Wi-Fi M.2 board. Which is really tiny comparatively to the bigger ones that we've used in the past.
It is, yeah.
And does it still also have 9 standoffs?
Yes, it does have 9.
Okay.
So we've got 3 in the top, 3 in the middle, and then the ones at the bottom are a little offset.
Has 8.
Oh, it has 8. My bad.
Okay, this is 8?
There's,
Okay.
Yeah, there's.
This one just has the 2 in the bottom then. Okay, yeah. So the M.2 boards, there is a lot of variance on them. Like we were talking about that extender that we used for this. Some M.2 boards don't need that extender.
Okay.
Yeah, because they don't
Blurry
have
Goose, hello!
any holes on the side.
Blurry Goose in the house. Happy Tuesday to you. A data center feels weird when the machines and AC are shut down. I'll be honest, I was so shocked. When I was working at Microsoft, I went over to a friend of mine's office. He works in the security division, and we walked through the server room to get some lunch in the cafeteria area. And first of all, the amount of airflow in that room was shocking. The amount of noise in that room was shocking. But like, you walked in, it's just air going everywhere, and it was relatively cool, but you put your hand anywhere near one of the servers and they are still warm. I thought it was fascinating. Yeah, Blurry Goose is in the house. Hello, welcome.
I remember this previous job I had. We went to the server room down there, and it was a giant building, like a giant corporate building. And their server room was like in the basement, and they had like a raised floor so that they could run, like how you have like a drop ceiling. They had that on the floor, so they could run all this AC underneath, and it sounded like you were in the jet engine in there. It was insane.
Yeah, and of course when the doors closed, it's all rubber sealed, so you couldn't really hear anything outside.
Yeah.
But yeah. So let's see here. Dundee Blur says, my current motherboard is a ROG Strix B450F with a Ryzen 7 2700X. I have found that Hogwarts Legacy doesn't run well with my 1070, and also probably the CPU, kind of sad. But I can play Halo Infinite fine. Different engines, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would say if you're wanting to get your frames up there in Hogwarts, probably look at your video card. Unfortunately, that 1070 is getting a little old. It's pretty sad when the 10 series is aging, but it is. So that's where I would start there. I'd say your CPU is probably just fine for that game.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Let's see. Next on the questions. I'm looking here. Oh, scope of tone. That is something you would want to discuss with customer service. Make sure they can check on that shipping. All you gotta do is just give us a ring.
Yeah.
Okay. Getting these all mounted to the top. And on top of there, obviously, is going to be that magnetic filter.
Yep. That'll slide just right on top of there. It's got a notch cut out for our top panel to go in, so we'll know which way to put it on. It's kind of crazy too that this small case can fit a 360 radiator in there so neatly. Obviously, it's because we were adjusting the back panel like we showed in the beginning, but just like this is an awesome build. Like,
yeah,
very
small
compact,
but very powerful. Yeah.
And then that power supply.
Yeah, this 1,000-watt tiny power supply is crazy.
That costs like $200.
Yeah,
That's the reason I didn't get
that thing is little.
Yeah.
the mini. But you pay for what you get.
And
you know?
like,
That's right.
When you look at the 3D Mark results for this game, like Fortnite at 1440p, they'll be playing at 225 FPS on the average, which is wild.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. Aerial Little Light says, I had a 1070 and then I had CLX build me a PC because I noticed how crazy everything got in the 6 years-ish. I built my PC with a 1070.
Mm.
And what kind of PC are you all making? This is a PC for a customer named Joe in Texas. It is an AMD Ryzen, and this is it's a mini micro tower. It's a Scarab 011 dynamic. So, okay, next on the bucket list, what are we doing?
All right, so Hayden's got his few of his fan wires coming through. He's going to finish putting in the screws for the top of our radiator here. So just finishing those mounts. After that, we'll probably get into case fans, I would assume. Yeah, get in the case fans.
Get the rest of those in there, get those wired out the back, plugged up, and then we can carry on.
Do all the fun stuff after that. So we'll start getting these fans a little prepped.
Yeah, Scopatone, unfortunately, that's not something we can handle or address on the show. Again, you'll have to reach out to customer service. Yeah, it does. It looks amazing already. And if you guys haven't seen some of the wild builds that we can do or cases you can choose from, you can always type exclamation special or specials. Dang, I always forget this one. Yep, it's special. There we go. I'll get it one day. Ivory's over here shaking his head, I'm sure. Okay, now as far as cable management goes with the fans, what are some great tips on how to manage that and how to ensure that you're not risking things running into any of the fan blades?
Yeah.
Well, as long as you are pulling all of your slack through, and then like what I'll show you here in a little bit. Once we get all our fans in, I will run all my fans out first, all my fan wires, get all of those plugged up into the fan controller box, and then that's out of your way. So you can get that taken care of, and then you have your bigger cables left to deal with.
Yeah, one of the upgrades we did there at the BYOC at DreamHack had a reverse tie-up in it, where all the slack was in the main body of the case.
Yeah, there was no cables in the back of the case.
Yeah.
Big old spaghetti
That was
box.
cool.
That was cool.
Let's see here. I just copied this from the website. This is the number that's listed for toll-free customer service. If you'd like to reach out to them, that would be the number you can call. There you go. Yeah, I'm really jazzed about the way that pump looks. It looks really, really unique. Just the circle. But then again, most of Lian Li's stuff is all very slick like that. It's very fluid.
Yeah, it is. And you can kind of see a glimpse of that radiator in the top there. It's a little different looking than the others, kind of like a more brushed, I don't want to say aluminum because it's kind of got a little different color to it, but more of like a brushed metal
Did you see
look
the
to it.
Lian Li new fans? With the screen on them?
Those are, oh no, I haven't.
With
I
the
thought I had.
screen on it.
Oh, that's nuts.
Oh, wow. I have a question coming in from Official Purple Guy. How do you use water cooling fans? Like, you need to replace the water, and I'm not sure what those are.
You mean like fans
Water
on a water-cooled AIO?
Oh.
Like an open
Or is you talking about water that's in a fan?
I don't know of any fans with water in them, but if you're referring to the fans on your radiator, if you're using an AIO, the coolant is already inside there. You don't have to do anything. It's all sealed off. So you just screw your fans into the radiator. There's little threaded portions on the radiator that your fans will screw into. So you don't have to mess with the fluid at all.
Yeah. Get the bottom fans in here. Now, as far as directional control of the air, where's it going to be flowing, and how does that work?
Yeah, so our main intake is going to be here at the bottom, which is what Hayden's installing now. So we're going to have 3 fans in the bottom pulling fresh air in, and then we're going to have 3 fans in the top, obviously on our radiator, exhausting out, and then another fan right here in the rear, a single 120 mil fan that's also exhausting. So 3 intakes and 4 exhaust.
Now, that does create a little bit of a negative pressure. Does that also help with the intake fans to bring in more air?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah. And this case does have an extra room for a couple more fans. We've done that in the past. Not necessary, but I believe you could. Can you get 3 fans in there, or is it just 2? I think we just do 2. Yeah, it'd be a little wild if you get 3 in there, but you could have an additional 2 fans for intake if you wanted it.
At the middle.
That's right.
The middle one. Middle size, you can do 3. Which still isn't crazy.
As far as the liquid, in the very beginning of liquid-cooled PCs, there were a lot of horror stories about everything, various different things springing a leak. But now it's it's a rock-solid science.
Yeah, I haven't seen an AIO leak out of the box in honestly years. Like it's just I mean, the amount of time I've been here, maybe twice we've had an AIO leak.
As far as the open loops, I will say that I've always been a little alarmed about that happening until I saw the O11 with the distro plate. And that distro plate's only access point was outside. So that way I really couldn't, like refilling or draining, it really wouldn't cause any major issues. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we've got the bottom fans on. And did you already pull the filter, pull that bottom tray filter to show them?
Yeah. Well, here we
Let's take a
are.
look at
Here's
that.
the bottom filter. You ready to put it back in, Hayden? You want to just throw it in there real quick? I think you got all your screws in. So it just slides in.
Maybe that one's not.
Oh, gotta get your screw in a little bit. But it'll just slide in there. Just gotta tighten down a screw real quick because it's sticking down a little bit.
And to clean these things, how would you go about doing that?
So I would just wipe them down with a wet rag or a wet paper towel, something like that. You know, you could, if it was real bad, you could run it underwater and do that. But just wiping it down, it should all come off pretty easy there.
Yep. One thing to notice from this angle is you can see the 4 different feet that give us a little bit of room on the bottom of the case. That's to ensure that you've got proper airflow. So when it comes to where to put your PC when you're using it, what are your best recommendations?
Yeah, so you want to set your PC on a hard surface if your main intake's going to be here on the bottom, and honestly, any PC you should probably have it on a hard surface. So if your PC's in the basement like mine on carpet, you can just get a rectangle cut out of cardboard that's a little bit bigger than your case. You can use, you know, a piece of wood, some floor tiles. Anything that's hard that will compress the carpet itself, but still leave that gap of the bottom of your feet to the bottom of your case so that your PC can breathe correctly.
Yep. Yeah, I have mine on tile. So
yeah, tile's a great option.
Dandy Blur asks, what's the safest way to clean fans, air coolers, GPU fans, and to safely clean off PC components that are covered in dust?
Yeah, that's a good question. So without, you know, removing any of the hardware and doing like a deep clean on it, just cleaning it while it's in your system, any of those cans of blow-off air duster are great. There's also, if you're really wanting to get in there, there's also like anti-static of PC vacuums you can use. So you can get that in there and not have to worry about what you're touching with that. That's a good option.
Yeah, I will say if you are going to use that duster, air can stuff, just make sure you're holding the blade of your fan down. Because if you let it spin, it can it'll wear out that bearing.
It'll just spin all the way. Yeah, your fan will just be spinning.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, make sure you're doing it in a ventilated area if you're using canned air.
Yeah.
Yeah, if your computer's like 6 years old, you never cleaned it, it's gonna be
You might need a little bit more than a can of air. Sometimes, like you'll get that can of air on there. It'll take off the top layer, but there's still that warm, fuzzy blanket on there.
Microfiber cloths can also be used on the, just on that surface.
Yeah, microfiber cloths
of the
great.
fan blades.
Yeah, for sure. We've got those all over the place here. We like those.
Yeah, I use them to clean off everything from my PC to my DJ gear.
Nice.
Alrighty. taking a look at that back panel, you can see all the ports that are available for the connectivity of this board. Let's, while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and talk about those options right there. So on the very top, you can see to the right is the HDMI port, and to the left is a display port, but we won't be using those because we've got the graphics card. Below that are two USB 3.2 Gen 2 ports. Then below that are two USB 2.0s, and below that is one USB 3.2 Gen 2x2 Type-C. Now, that's a lot of words, and what that means is this port is a 20 gig port, 10 up, 10 down. And that means it can transfer a lot of data very, very quickly. Next to it is another 3.2 Gen 1. And then we've got two USB 2.0s and the 2.5 gig Ethernet port, which is wild because that means that's a lot of data and a lot of connectivity. Wi-Fi 6, the Wi-Fi 6 antenna mounts are just below that. And then, of course, you've got your BIOS flashback and your 7.1 channel audio options. So there we go. Let's go back up here, check the... Why does this way doesn't get power tools? Yes, this is also why we took away his power tools on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Zombie Rain brings up a good point. Set your PC directly on the carpet for one of the most expensive vacuums you've ever owned. Yes, also
you get
true.
A good FPS boost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. So the question coming in from Why You Mad says, how often should you clean out your PC? Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. Obviously, depending on how many pets you have, but you know, every 6 months probably. I mean, a proper recommendation would probably be monthly, but who's going to do that?
Advice,
Yeah, I don't either.
Be monthly.
So, yeah, probably monthly.
Every 3 months.
I pretty much clean my PC when I'm upgrading it.
Yep.
That's,
or when I move
you
my
know,
setup.
and I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have cleaned this way earlier. So, but yeah.
So, we did have a great question coming in from. Uh-oh, where'd it go? Oh, there we go. Coming in from Beast and Shadow. What's the difference between all these USB ports? I believe it's speed and form.
Yeah, that's really it's the USB ports now. There is so many variations between Type A and Type B and Type C. I guess Type B is not really used anymore, but then you get broken down to 3.1, 3.2, and so on. Really, all you need to know, the bigger the number, the faster the transfer speed is going to be through it.
Yep, absolutely. So a USB 3.2 for Type A, B, and USB micros B's and C's is 20 gigs. 3.1 is 5 gigs. USB 2.0 is 480 megs, and USB 1.1 is 12. And talk about a difference between original USB 1.1 and USB 3.2. Good grief.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. Why you mad? Says, yesterday I opened my laptop for the first time in 10 years to clean it. My room has been dirty ever since. All right. So getting the cables through the rubber grommets, which is a really cool feature, makes it look a lot cleaner. Hayden, what are some ideas and considerations when you are placing everything prior to putting in your power supply unit?
Yeah, so I like to, at least almost like every single case that I do, I like to do my fans, my fan controller, and then wire that all up, kind of loosely tie it up, and then I will go ahead and start running my front panel cables. So literally my front panel pins, my 3.0, my Type-C, my CPU cable, depending on if the radiator is going to be in the way, which it shouldn't be, so I'll be fine. And then I'll go about doing my power supply.
Gotcha. Now, we did see one situation of a case where we were in DreamHack that you had mentioned. This is what you don't want to do with an AIO and where the tubes came out. With regards to which direction they were mounted. So, what is the rule of thumb on that?
It is. Usually we like to do it from this angle. You want your tubes as far away as possible. You want it at its highest point, so you're not getting any air in there.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay.
But like I said, I've seen
Excellent.
people put it on the bottom. I mean, that's not practical, but I don't know if there's any manuals out there saying, you know, you should or not. So.
Hey, hi says, my laptop is shutting down if I stop charging. Any recommendations?
New battery would be my first one.
The battery.
Yep.
Battery is the thing that goes on those, unfortunately.
Official purple guy says, what's the safest way to clean a PC? And also, what's the safest way to switch a graphics card? I heard that if you do it incorrectly, you can fry the PC.
Yeah, so safest way to clean your PC is obviously to just pull the side panel off and use those blowing cans of air duster. Don't ever, like, that prevents you from having to get in there and touch any of the components yourself. There's plenty of anti-static vacuums and blower options that you can use if you're really worried about it. Those are kind of more used in like a shop sense. The everyday person probably doesn't need to have one of those. I don't have one of those, but that is an option out there. And then for your video card, the biggest thing, I mean, you can't really, you could fry your PC putting it in correctly, but the biggest thing is just take your time with it. You should have plenty of space. You want to make sure that you're lining your slot up correctly, and we'll show it once we're installing this video card. But the biggest thing is, and there's two tabs kind of at the end of your video card, like right here where you'll plug in your monitor. You want to make sure those are sitting in between your motherboard and this case. So if you're ever putting your video card in and it feels like this side just isn't going down, most likely those two tabs are bumping your motherboard and just need slightly adjusted. And then you're obviously just looking for this tab right here. It'll be down when you're installing. And when you put your card in, you should hear a little click like that. And that shows that the card's incorrectly and it's locked into place.
When I first built my first PC, GPU wasn't clicked in.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't get the video. I thought I broke it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Typically, if you don't get video and everything's plugged in and has power, the next thing is reseat your video card or make sure the power connections are plugged in. Which we can get to the video card next, actually. I'm kind of dying to unbox this because this card is massive.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I didn't know if it was going to fit in this case, but it will.
It
Okay.
should.
It should. There you go.
We're definitely hoping so.
If it doesn't,
So
we'll have to go
this-
grab a
this
different
is-
one.
Okay, well, this is an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4080, but whose 4080 is it?
All right, so this is a Gigabyte 4080, and this is their
Nice.
Eagle version.
Oh, yeah.
It's
That-
huge.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
see,
thing.
Oh
Hayden
my
didn't know we were
gosh.
doing an Eagle today. That's why I started laughing. So,
This is a huge
look at this thing.
card. That thing's a monster. I love it.
Crazy. Look at it next to
I
this.
do love
Look
the
at it
fact-
next to this PC. Standing it up there next
Yeah,
to it.
it's as tall as the PC is. I do like the fact that Gigabyte closed the end of it. It's got that very clean look to it. Yeah.
Yep.
And we'll be announcing the winner right after we talk about the website. A card, it's a box. Yes, very true, Kennedy. Very true.
Two slots?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
walk us
it's
through
a
some of the
two-slot.
walk us through some of the processes with that. First of all, what do you mean by two slot, and then how does this thing work?
All right, so what Hayden was asking was a two slot because he's adjusting his PCIe covers here. So technically, this is a two slot because we've got little two tabs here,
It
but
should
obviously this is going to take up at least 4 slots in our case because the way this heat sink sticks out.
Yeah.
So this is a triple fan, very big card. You can see the back of it has this kind of bare metal open. You can actually see through that, and there's heat pipes running through there. At this angle, you can see those copper heat pipes. And so those are going into those fins and running the whole length of the fins both ways. So heat will go through those pipes, extend out to the fins, and then the fans will blow that heat away.
Gotcha. I want to address a question that I missed a little bit up here, and it's what are the different what do the different speeds or types mean for USB?
Yeah, so that's just
It's like Gen 1. Yeah.
Yeah, that's your transfer speed. So the data, when, like, let's say you plug in a USB drive to open up a PowerPoint document or whatever, that refers to the transfer speed from the USB drive into your computer. And those will be like read and write speeds. So your reading is obviously at reading from the USB, and your writing is your computer writing to the USB. So usually those speeds are a little different, but that's what it refers to.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, obviously, this card's going to need to be cooled a lot. That's why it's got all that framing in there. How does that work? I mean, you can see those copper tubes in there.
Yeah. Yeah, the idea is obviously on your back of your video card, you're always going to see like 4 screws kind of in a square like this, which is very similar to your motherboard and where your CPU mounts, because our GPU is right here. So those screws are what's really mounting the cooler to the GPU itself, and then the heat's extending out past that. So we can show you what that looks like under that heatsink on our handy dandy 1050 card. So go ahead, don't install that yet, Hayden, but hold on.
It's actually very light.
It is. It's lighter than you would think.
I forget how
it
light
really
it
is.
is.
Oh, wow, okay. Now, Hayden, are we going to need to have a support strap or mount, an anti-sag mount for this?
We will, but since this doesn't have a little slot in the bottom, I'm going to have it get installed during testing.
Yeah, we'll have to use one of our...
Okay.
We've got some swing arm ones that we'll use for this.
Cool.
All right, so we've got our handy dandy 1050 Ti here. Now, usually this doesn't get dwarfed as much as this card does, but it is getting dwarfed today. So what we want to point out first is our PCB length on our video card, which is the actual board itself. So on this 1050 Ti, it's this long. You can see it right here. And on this big 4080, I'll show it to you from this side. It's really only, it's a little bit longer, but it only comes out to here. The rest of this is all just cooler. So if I were to take this cooler off, it would look just like this underneath. This is our GPU here. So this spot where you see thermal paste and those 4 screw holes, that's what I was talking about on the back of this. So this is all your GPU is, this thin card right here. It's got your GPU there and your memory chips around it. But this is always just really cool to me to show how thin your video card actually is. And all this giant part of this card is just to deal with the heat that it generates.
Yeah, and it is wild to think that it gets that hot that it needs that kind of a cooling solution. And there are 2 different ways for you to cool a GPU. You can have it like it comes from the manufacturer, but you can also water cool them.
Yeah, so we've done an open loop with a 4090 Founders Edition. If you want to watch that, that's on our YouTube as well. But that's where we actually take the cooler off and put a block on it. Excuse me. And then there are some video card manufacturers that will have the video card with an AIO pre-built in. So that would be another way. You can open loop and close loop your GPU.
Yeah, which is wild to think about.
I mean,
absolutely cool.
If you wanted to, you can have an AIO cooling your CPU, and you can water block your GPU.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
I've done that before.
Yeah, that'd be a little different.
Interesting.
So
does that mean that the GPU processor actually runs at a higher temperature than your GPU? I mean, than your CPU?
Depends on what CPU and what GPU you have. But those, like the new 13900 runs pretty warm, but it's nothing like worry about.
Chalish asks, are there liquid nitrogen builds?
So there's like, I wouldn't call them builds. I'd call them like test benches. Yeah, because you're not going to get like a PC in a box shipped to your house with liquid nitrogen. But you can use it, and that's basically the couple that kind of looks like this AIO here. But you just have your test bench out. So it's just a board, not really mounted in a case, usually mounted in some sort of framing. And then you'll put like rags all around the CPU block because that liquid nitrogen is so cold it can cause condensation, and you obviously don't want condensation on your motherboard. So, you know, those they do exist, but I wouldn't call them like practical builds.
Just take your motherboard and throw it in some mineral oil.
Yeah, do the mineral oil build. You could do that.
Yep. That's still a fascinating thing to me.
It is. We're gonna have to do one on the show sometime.
Yeah.
We'll get one. Yeah.
That'd be very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next?
You want to do the video card? Yeah, let's get this big boy in here.
Yeah, condensation is a really weird thing. I know when we were at Outpost, when I was working Outpost Discovery, we were in Philadelphia. It was the hottest day of the year there. It was 114 plus the heat index, so it made it feel like 120 outside. They didn't turn the AC on while we were setting up, and so it's all sorts of hot in that building. We got everything set up. We got all of our Xboxes put in place, and then went home and they turned the AC on that overnight. We came back, and of course, one of the tables of Xboxes was directly underneath this giant pipe where the AC was coming in, and it pumped so hard and so cold that it created condensation. It dripped all the way down the table.
Oh, no.
On the Xboxes. Yeah. Yep. So we used fans to dry them off, and we only lost one. So, MX Riders asks, what is that that thing? What is that part? Which one are you referring to? The graphics card or the circle? The RTX, the GeForce RTX Gigabyte, that is a graphics card. That little circle is the pump for the CPU cooler. Yeah. And just to be clear, I want to make sure I understand it. So the pump is in that little housing, not actually in the radiator.
Correct. Yeah, it's under that circle.
Got
So
it.
there's that copper plate on the back, and then the pump is basically right above that copper plate.
Yeah.
One of these days, I'll bring up a defective AIO that's been taken apart and actually show you guys what that pump looks like. It's really small.
That'd be cool.
It's like surprisingly small.
Interesting. Yeah, this graphics card is just massive compared.
Yeah, this is a mini build too.
Yeah. Now, how close is that graphics card to those fans?
Yeah, pretty close.
It's pretty close.
But
yep, it's a pretty tight fit.
Will keep it cooled down, so.
Yeah. So, and really to keep in mind here, this card is obviously very long, but in a mini build like this, even if we had a really small card, it would still be very close to those
Just because
bottom
we had to
fans.
drop that.
Yeah.
We dropped that board.
Yeah.
Yep, to fit our 360 up top.
Denzo Val says this case looks kind of similar to an O11 Dynamic. It is an O11 Dynamic, but this is the mini, or its actual terminology is, let's see here. It's a mini micro tower black. So it's our Scarab build. So anybody who's ever noticed, all of our PC lines and sizes are named after Egyptian gods, which is really cool.
Push that button. Down there. Thank you.
What is the cost for this build? This build currently is sitting at $3,710 total. This is only a mini to Shaq. What's up, John? How are you doing? Wow. Right? Animes brings up a good point. When you call a graphics card a card, then it should be the size of an actual card. Instead, it's a graphics box. You're not wrong.
I mean, they used to be cards.
Yeah.
I think they should have adapted to a new name.
There should be something.
Yeah. It's a graphics block.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay.
Well, I guess we'll get into our power supply next. I can show this off. I'm sure
Yeah.
you can probably
This is
start
fun.
running the cables. So
This is a 1,000-watt Silverstone SFX 1000 80 plus platinum. This is, I think, the smallest power supply I've ever seen for a PC.
yes, it's tiny. It's always cool to me using these small power supplies. So the designation for that is SFX. That is the form factor. So if you see a power supply that's SFX, that's what it's referring to. These are specially made to fit in a smaller build. So a regular size power supply, we wouldn't actually be able to fit in this case. So we have to have an SFX. And what's just crazy to me is this is 1,000 watts right here. Like, it's nuts. This is 1,000 watt in this little box. So
That tiny little box.
yeah, literally in the palm of my hand. So this is a fully modular power supply as well. So you can see our ports right here for our cables. So we're only going to plug in
Fully
the cables that
modular?
we need.
What do you mean?
Yeah, so none of the cables are pre-soldered into this. So all the cables, we've got them out here as extras. We will plug in the ones that we need for the components we have installed and then put the rest in the accessories box. So really good to go with fully modular. Would recommend. This is an area of a PC build where you can save some money though. So if your budget is tight, this is an area where you can save money without losing much performance. So, but if you can go fully modular, we always recommend it. It's less restrictions on your airflow, gives your system just a cleaner look in general. So, yeah, big fan of the modular power supplies.
Nice. And compared to a full-sized power supply, are there the same number of ports on this, or does its size limit the number of ports that it has?
Yeah, so this has about the same number of ports as like a 1,000-watt fully regular size power supply does. It's just all crammed into here. So, yep, about the same.
Let's see here. Jedi Smuggler, what's up, dude? Asks, can you stream with a build like this?
Absolutely, yeah. You could stream in game with a build like this. Yeah, you could do a lot. You could do a couple streams with this.
Now, the one thing I will say about that is that with this build, you wouldn't be able to have an internal capture card. You would need to use an external capture card, but there's so many great options for that you really wouldn't run into an issue. How important is it to have the right monitor for your PC? Kind of depends on what you're using it for.
Yeah, I mean, monitor's pretty much user preference. Like, if you've got if you're gonna go spend, a few or more grand on a PC, you probably want to have a nice monitor so that you're using that money that you spend effectively. There's kind of no reason to spend a lot of money on a PC and then just run it like a 1080p 60 hertz monitor, since all that money's tied up in the components and you're not even seeing what those components do. So it's really based on your system and what you prefer. So like if I had this rig right here, I would definitely run at least 2K at 144 hertz minimum. That's what I run at home, and my rig isn't this powerful. So
nice. All right, we'll get that all in there, and then it is time to start the cable management. And as usual, we have a running tally. It's a non-prize level contest, but it is always everybody's trying to guess how many zip ties Hayden will end up using in the build.
I don't know.
Right?
This is a smaller build, so keep that in mind when you're guessing.
Jedi's already guessing 13. Shasta's 11. Gensu is 11. Okay, so with that being said, while you're getting started on that, I would like to turn our attention to our website, because I want everyone here to know how they can go about getting one of our PCs for themselves. At CLX Gaming, we have an amazing website with an incredible configurator. This configurator allows you to custom build and design your PC to meet your needs. That means you get to choose not only the case, but the design, the motherboard, the processor, the RAM, everything you can think of. And you don't have to be an expert. In case you accidentally select something that's not compatible with another, you'll see where it says solve conflict like it was above. The options it provides are how to resolve that. If you say choose a DDR4 board, but you've got DDR5 RAM, it'll tell you what RAM you can use with the board, or it'll tell you which boards work with the RAM that you selected. You make the choice of how you alter that, and it will always make sure that you've got a compatible, configured system by the time that you're ready for checkout. Now, if you're not really into building your own system, don't worry. We have got dozens upon dozens of different ready-to-ship models that are already on the rack, ready to find a new home, and that home might be yours. A myriad of different price ranges and features and options, and it's all right there on our website. And of course, for those of you who are asking about clothing, it is on the from our configurator panel. It is over in the peripherals section. So we'll get to that in just a second. That accessories, peripherals, the far end, and then there is clothing. I think it was that very first tab. And you can choose t-shirts, windbreakers like this. This is one of the most comfortable windbreakers I've ever had. It's great. It's awesome. Look at also t-shirts, hats, beanies. Yeah, down below is that. So definitely consider grabbing one of those if you grab a PC here. And yeah, so there you go. Now, with that being said, you know what's coming up. Are we ready to find out who our winner is? The winner is Mr. Squishy. Ooh. Mr. Squishy is a Twitch streamer and a content creator. Got a channel here and also is on Twitter. So we've notified Mr. Squishy of the that they've won. They have 24 hours to respond. Hopefully they will hear it and pop in here. And don't worry, like, congratulations to Mr. Squishy. Gonna be a great build for them. Now, I will say, guess what we're doing? We are gonna have another giveaway this month. So don't worry, there's more chances for you to win your own PC directly from CLX and our partners. So there we go. Congratulations once again to Mr. Squishy.
That's a good name, Mr. Squishy.
Yeah. And Mr. Squishy, I believe, is in the UK.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So awesome. Our first non-North American winner.
Yeah.
That's great. Cool. Very cool. Congratulations.
That just means anyone can win.
That's right.
Yes.
Even
Yes.
those
That's
tea
super
drinkers over there.
Oh, wow. Wow.
You know.
Woke up and chose violence, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like tea, but it's not a daily thing,
There you go.
know?
Now that being said, it is like 8:30 over there in the UK right now, in various places of the UK, so maybe a little late. But yes, congratulations, and we're still got to finish this PC, which is going to be great. The one thing I would like to bring up, since we've got the intake fans at the very bottom of the case, they're going to be blowing up into the fans that are on the card, and those fans blow air onto and across the radiator of the graphics card. So will that result in a cooler situation for the graphics card since it's being blown directly in?
Yeah, for sure. This card is going to get great fresh air from the bottom, and then the fans in this card are blowing the same direction as well. So that's why this cutout is here too, for it to kind of allow air to flow through. So most of our airflow is going to be kind of coming through this area, but yeah, our GPU is going to be getting the most fresh air out of any component on the build, which is good.
Let's see here. Nothing dude says, are they using IQ Link to connect the fans? I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, so IQ Link is an RGB software. We won't be using that for this build. We have used it on some builds. It really depends on the RGB we have. So the controller for this is obviously going to be plugged into the motherboard as well. But with these fans, it comes with our remote. So we like using that remote. It's really easy to change your colors and adjust fan speed that way. But then there also is the option to use software to adjust your RGB as well.
Yeah. All right, and I already seeing incredible cable management in the back. We came across some things that I will definitely say stressed Hayden out.
Yeah.
See, what can we talk about the one build that we saw that was just all over the place? It was the very first one you did. What did you see when you opened it up?
Well, all his cables were in the front. They were in the front of the case. So there was, what, 2 zip ties holding it all together?
Yeah, the most egregious part of that tie-up to me was it was a system where the power supply was mounted in the bottom, and typically on that you'd run your CPU cable, you know, from the back of your case out the hole in the top and into your CPU plug on your motherboard. Well, this one, the CPU cable was ran up through the front of the case and just laid on top of the motherboard and plugged in. That was the biggest offense in my opinion on that one.
Yeah, I agree.
That was pretty wild.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. It's fun to watch, fun to see.
It was definitely fun to see.
He built his own, so you know, kudos to him for that.
I will say that, and of course, the excitement on all of their faces, but we also taught, you guys were very educational in how you did it and when you were doing it. We actually got the chance to film it, so we're excited to go and see some of the highlights of that. Speaking of highlights, while Hayden's doing this, our director and editor over here has been working hard editing down all the video. We spent last weekend in Dallas, Texas for DreamHack Dallas, had an absolutely amazing time, and we wanted to show you just a peek as to what went on. Take a look. absolutely amazing time we had there. As you can see, everything from music to competitions, games, and more. Content creators at the Creator Hub in the Stream Studio, which was so much fun. I got to DJ on on the Creator Hub stage, which was an absolute blast, and it was all inside of one space. The BMX racing and the trick jumping was fantastic. And they did it in a very small space.
Yeah, it was. Like, right when you walk in, they have those ramps there. Like, what is this?
Yeah, it was
right.
That was nuts.
Yeah. Leave it to Monster to jump out of it.
I was tempted to hop on the ring.
Oh, yeah. And we had the shot of all four of us together in that reel as well. You can see that was honestly so fun. So fun to just have us all in the same space for the first time.
Yeah. That was good. And
Yeah.
I think we're going to do some before and after shots of the upgrades. So those before shots are pretty good.
Those before shots are just they're the best.
Yeah.
Hayden doesn't ever want to see some of that again. Yeah, that convention center is gigantic. It was a lot of fun. IEM, the Intel Extreme Masters for CSGO, was incredible in that stadium. All right. Now, I will say, if anybody wants to see our specials, we mentioned that we do other designs. If you type !special and follow that link, you'll be able to see some of the special designs that we actually do. They're custom graphics for the panels and the cases. They look really great. How many people joined the giveaway? I do not actually have that information. I'm not sure. That would be a Nicole question, and I'm not even sure if she has that information. So I know there was a lot. There was a lot.
Magnetic filter.
With the cutout.
With the cutout in the right spot.
Here we go. Okay, looks like we are ready to go. The moment of truth. Now, before we turn it on, I do want to bring up one thing that we just haven't talked about yet. So, obviously, just like our ready to ship and other custom builds, what happens to this PC now that you finish building it?
Yeah, so this machine, just like all the ones we sent to DreamHack, customer builds, yours, DJ, any system we do here, once it's built, it goes into our testing and integration department. And there's a few things we do there. The first thing is we get into the BIOS and make sure all of our storage drives or storage devices are showing up correctly. After that, we'll load our operating system, any games the customer has selected. If you don't select any games, you just get a fresh OS. There's no bloatware on these. Then after that, we put the system through a 12-hour burn-in or a stress test, and that allows us to catch any component that may be faulty in a gaming environment but still allows your system to turn on, and that way you get a stable system. So every system we do here goes through that process.
Which is the best part, no bloatware.
Yeah, no bloatware is the best part.
That is a huge advantage right there. Okay, so we've obviously got this all set up and ready to go. I'm super excited to see what it looks like once it's turned on.
Yeah. Alrighty, I think we're good to go.
Alrighty.
We should
power it up and see what happens.
Should see some lights with the power switch on.
Maybe not.
Maybe not, depending on the components.
There we go.
Boom.
Woo!
There we are.
Nicely done. There's the RAM. It's all colored. This looks great. I'm really digging that pump for the water.
It's a really nice looking.
It looks good.
Cooler. It's very aesthetic.
Well, let's go over one more time everything that went into this custom case for Joe in Texas. This is an 011 dynamic Scarab mini micro tower, and it is in black. It has got an AMD Ryzen 7 7800X 3D processor mounted on an ASUS TUF Gaming B650M Plus Wi-Fi M.2 motherboard. It has 32 gigs of DDR5 6000 RAM and a Gigabyte RTX 4080 by Nvidia. The operating system is going to be stored on a 1TB Samsung 980 Pro PCIe 4.0 NVMe SSD, and of course it's being cooled by a Lian Li Galahad AIO 360 closed-loop cooler, along with 7 Gamdias Aeolus M.2 ARGB fans, and it's all powered by a 1,000-watt Silverstone SFX 1080 plus platinum power supply. Ta-da! There we go. Okay. Looks good, guys. Looks actually really good.
It does.
Yeah. I'm really liking that cooler.
Small but powerful right here.
I don't think of them as cooler with this layout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Alrighty. So with that being said, our show comes in 2 different pieces. We're about to take a quick break, and when we come back, it's going to be an afternoon spent with Hayden, as Hayden continues with several builds at a much faster pace, because that's just how Hayden rolls. You can find out more about everything that's going on with CLX and see what we're doing on socials at YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter at CLX Gaming. If you'd like to join our community with like-minded PC enthusiasts, head on over to discord.gg/CLX Gaming. This show is every Tuesday and Thursday right here on CLX Gaming TV on Twitch. We start at 11 a.m. Pacific, that's 2 Eastern, and we're always building new PCs. I believe we have a guest coming in on Thursday, so that's going to be really fun. And yeah, we're excited. We're super excited. Once again, congratulations to Mr. Squishy, who won our giveaway for the month of May, and we're excited to soon show you what we're going to be doing for June. For Jason and Kyle in production, Paul and Hayden, I'm DJ BluePDX. Thanks for watching, and don't go away. We've got more coming up after the break. We'll be right back.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.